welcome to this week's video. Now, I was calling these gig diaries, but I've decided to broaden out the scope of these videos, so I'm still deciding what to call them. I might call them TJTV. I did ask for some suggestions last week, so some more would be welcome. I only had one suggestion last week. It was from Tone Pilot, who suggested musician's pants, which I thought was a very good idea, but I'm a little bit worried that pants means something different in the UK to it does in America, so there might be some confusion. So some more suggestions please, but TJTV is so far my favourite. So I'm going to keep showing some footage from gigs and some little technical bits and pieces here and there, plus some other stuff. Coming up in this week's video, some nice audience interaction rather than the horrible stuff I had last week.
Yeah, well, that one's especially for you. Did you like that one? What's your name?
Harry.
Some Quad Cortex action, some soloing on acoustic guitar, and some soloing on electric guitar. So the other thing I've been doing this week is I've sent out a load of CDs from a competition for my mailing list, and as you can see here, I enlisted the help of my daughters to help on the production line. It's not slave labour, honestly, they wanted to help. If you aren't already signed up to my mailing list and you want to be, and then see about these offers and stuff, I'm often giving away free tracks and CDs and things like that, then head over to my website, which is iamtjwalker.com, and sign up on there, and then you'll know about all my latest goings on. First thing I'm going to show you is a bit of footage from my first gig this week. It was an acoustic guitar gig, and I got to use the Mackie SRM Flex PA system, the new one that my wife bought and she let me borrow, on a kind of quiet backgroundy gig, which is where it really comes into its own. Now, it sounded really good, you'll see it in the clip. Now, the only thing I had to do, and I think this is quite an interesting thing, the same sort of happens with guitar amps, with electric guitar amps for me, is I have to position it in the right position relative to my ear. I put it behind me to start with, and it was pointing right at me, and it was a little bit harsh because the speaker was pointing right at me, which it isn't really if you're in the audience. So to get a better idea of what it sounded like from the audience's perspective, and to make it sound nice for myself, I kind of positioned it, I moved it forward, so I'm getting it a little bit more side on, I'm not getting it direct in my ear. And it was a very nice sound once I'd had a little fiddle about with it. I adjusted a bit of treble, bit of bass, but all in all, very pleased with it. So if you check this clip out, you'll hear it. Now I'm doing a solo in Romeo and Juliet at the end of the song, and I'm using my Quad Cortex for looping and all of the effects you hear. And if you want to know how to set up that preset so you can control the Quad Cortex and the looper in hybrid mode, all controlling itself, using it like a MIDI foot switch to MIDI control itself, I've done a video for that, so I'll put that up here. And if you didn't check out my full review of the Mackie SRM Flex PA, that was on last week's video, and I'll put a link to that video here as well. Check this one out. This is Romeo and Juliet.
You and me, babe.
Saw last week's video, you'd have seen that I was getting a bit of grief off somebody in the audience. I finished with the song Pinball Wizard, and he didn't know it, and he had a go at me saying, if I'm going to play a last song as a finale, I ought to do one that everyone knows. To which I tried to point out that everyone did know it. I mean, he was quite adamant that nobody did. So it's a good example of just because you don't know something yourself doesn't mean that everybody doesn't know it. This week was completely different. I had some very nice audience interaction with a little girl who was about 5 or 6. She came and stood right in front of me eating a sandwich, and then she kept asking me to play songs, and she was very cute. So I'm just going to show you. I'm not going to show her in the video obviously, but I'll just a little bit of my interaction with her because it was quite cute. You can hear her.
That looks like a very nice sandwich. Is it roast beef? No. Cheese and pickle? Got it from over there. Are there any left? What songs do you like? See if I can play one you like. Let It Go? I knew you were going to say that. I've got 3 daughters. I know the score. Oasis? Yeah. I bet your dad asked for that, didn't he?
Yeah. Mum did.
Oh, your mum did? This is for Perry's mum. Today is gonna be the...
And then just to round off this gig, I'll show you another solo. This was over You've Got a Friend, the Carole King song, James Taylor did. And what I do, I set a loop up over the chorus, then the verse, and then I solo over it. So I'm not looping up any bass or anything, it's just the rhythm guitar part, and then I solo over it. So I thought this came out quite well, so here we go. Moving away for a minute from the gig action, I'm going to show you a bit of stuff on the Quad Cortex. Now there's been some good features came out in the 1.4.0 update, and I've done a couple of bits on previous videos, but someone left me a comment, Mark Christensen, suggesting a way that I could use the button in my expression pedal in a similar way that I was using one of the foot switches on the Quad Cortex. And I've got it to work, and it's very, very useful. Now the feature I particularly liked on 1.4.0 was the ability to assign one foot switch to multiple blocks, and I discovered you could invert the on and off. So what I was using it for with my expression pedal, I was having it as a volume pedal for most of the time, and then I was pressing one of the switches on the Quad Cortex to switch to a wah-wah pedal, because obviously you don't want a wah and volume at the same time. But he suggested that if I had the expression pedal with a foot switch, which I have, then I could use the switch output to switch between wah and volume. This is a preset I've shown several times. It's from one of the bands that I do, and there's a band amp, and I use my Quad Cortex as my effects unit. And I had it set up, so let me show you on the GoPro here. I had it set up so on this foot switch I switch between wah and volume. So if I show you here, if I switch that switch, that's the gain block, which is set. The way to set that one up is you set the maximum to be 50, which gives you 0 dB, and then the minimum is off, and it's inverted. The way you do it, you switch the switch and you put that power switch on and off to switch whether you want it on or off, with the foot switch being on or off. Now the way to use the switch in the expression pedal, you have to plug out of the other output, which is the switch output, and then you use both of the expression pedal inputs. Now I've done this once, now I'm going to try and do this live on the video and see if I can get it right. So if I go into the wah-wah, now let me just check actually before I start. So at the moment I've got it switched, so the wah is off and the volume's on. So let's go into the wah, and you have to assign expression pedal, expression 2, and you need to set it to bypass. You need to set the switch on to switch, invert range. Now I'm going to leave that as off. It doesn't really matter as long as I set the other one to be on. Okay, so that should be right. So then if I press that down, yeah, there we go. So that's working. And then the second thing I need to do is go into the gain, same thing, assign expression pedal 2, and again I set it to bypass. Now I don't need to do anything else here, so I set that to switch, and I'm going to set the invert range to on. Done. Now if I come out of there, hopefully when I click the foot switch, there we go, which means I can then free up this for another device. And what I'm going to do, so let's go back into those devices. So what I need to do, whoops, wrong one. What I need to do is unassign from H on both of those devices. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a looper in here, and I'm going to do a bit of playing using the new bits and pieces. I'm just going to do that for the fun of it. Right, let's put the looper in. Okay, now I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do a bit of playing. So I'm going to put the GoPro away and do a bit of playing. Right, now this is completely unplanned. I don't know what I'm going to do here, but I am wearing my slippers, which isn't very rock and roll. So I just wanted to show you some examples of using the volume pedal and the wah switched, and I'll put a looper on there as well. So let's see what happens here. Okay. I'm not sure how this works. Now on to the second of this week's gigs. If you saw last week's video, you'd have seen that I was booked to be rhythm guitarist, and I played with the same band again this week, and it was very interesting again. I enjoyed it. I did a couple of solos. Now the clips I'm going to show you are actually me doing a couple of solos that I did do. I wanted to show you some more of the rhythm guitar work because the band was really in the pocket. It really sounded good. We were really locking in. It was nice to be playing mainly rhythm, but unfortunately the sound on the video is not very good, and I'm not sure what it is. The drums are quite splashy and I think they're echoing around in the room. Also, having two guitars, they're always kind of competing because they sound similar, although they didn't sound like they were on stage, but it does sound a bit like it on the camera. So it was a little bit indistinct and I couldn't really hear what was going on myself, and I knew what I was playing, so I didn't think I'd put it on the video because nobody else would be able to hear it. Now this first solo is on Tutti Frutti, bit of rock and roll. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment. All those things help. And I'm going to leave you with a solo on Sweet Home Alabama. So please come back next week. I'm releasing videos every Friday. So I hope to see you next week.